Morning. I am back for a live. I was on the road yesterday, out and about. Hopefully, my audio and everything is working. I'm just checking to make sure it is, so that we know that you can all hear me, which sounds perfect. So, uh, I'm going to talk about recession, but I'm not going to talk about it as doom and gloom because, quite honestly, I think all a recession is, and this is going to be, I've been through two recessions, and I'll just say now, just so I can put this disclaimer out there, both recessions, the first two, I was not in the position I'm in now. But I believe this to be true back then, and it's true right now. So, good morning, everybody, wherever you're joining me. If you've never met this ugly mush before, I'm Dean. I lead Maverick, and we help people get clients grow faster, spend less time selling. But I want to talk to you about the recession, at the harsh reality of what you need to be doing, and it's what I'm going to be doing. So, 2 years. We're expecting 2 years of people feeling the pinch, really hard feeling the pinch. My feeling in the market at the moment is there are a lot of people holding on to money because they're nervous. And that's my perception. I've seen some of my big clients culling workforce. You're seeing big tech companies culling workforce. But this is not all doom and gloom. And I want to give you some practical things you should be looking at right now to not just weather the storm, because I think just battening down the hatches in a recession can be a mistake. If you're on contract work and you've got 5-year contracts with companies that are immune or generally immune from recessions, or they're not going to go bust, then good luck to you. But a lot of businesses, my business, has some contracts and some non-contract stuff. So there is some bits that we need to look at, and I want to talk to you about that. So the reality is, and do say hello if you're watching, say hello wherever you're watching, that'd be great. The reality is, good morning, Tanvir, good morning, Murad. The reality is, it's going to get tougher to sell what we're selling right now. That is the reality of what's going to happen. It's going to get tougher. Does that mean you just work harder? Well, we might have to. To sell the same things, you might have to. But I encourage you, and this is what I'm doing right now, is I'm looking at what we sell already, what's our product offering, what's our service offering, and going, how can we make it more compelling in a recession when budgets are tight and people have to make more difficult decisions? So I'm looking at, is this product set or is this service offering and the way it's positioned still going to be compelling in a recession? So the next few months, the end of November, December, January, there is going to be a wobble, right? That's the reality. People not sure what's going to happen. There'll be a little bit of like worry and concern, and that's going to bounce around for a couple of months. And then the reality of this is what it is will start to sink in. And as all human beings done, as we've done before, we adapt. And what I'm telling you, what I'm challenging you, what I'm doing myself is looking at what I'm doing and seeing how can I modify it. One, so it's more relevant in a recession. First thing, what am I doing right now? Should I change the emphasis of what I'm doing a little bit to make it more relevant to an audience, to add more value and make it more of a no-brainer to make a decision to buy now? So I'm doing that right now, and you should be doing that right now. Looking at what you're doing in times when there's great growth, in times when we're relatively mild economic circumstances, and we've had that really pretty much for about 12 years, mild economic circumstances, roughly. People are more inclined to spend frivolously. So this is big companies too. They increase budgets and stuff. They try new things and they experiment more. And then when you dip into the recession, they tend to cut back to what's certain. It does not mean that they are they won't spend, it means they will only spend on things that are really valuable and really useful right now. So if you had a mediocre offering, I'm not saying your service was mediocre, but I'm saying if your positioning in the market was mediocre, you will struggle and you'll have to sharpen how you position your services and how you land your message. That's just the nature of the beast, because now you're going to have people sitting on the fence more. So that's really important to understand. The other thing is, I would be looking at which industries are relatively immune from recession, right? And looking at how you can shift what you're doing to take advantage, and I'm telling you, take advantage of the industries that are immune to major impacts from recession. So we know a lot of financial services, classic financial services, generally don't get hit so bad. We know that industries where they're protected from falling consumer demand, so are good industries. So things like food retail, food manufacturing, those kind of things, energy. How can you shift what you're doing in that place? So if you're a coach or if you're a consultant on particular things, how can you target companies in industries that will grow or thrive or not feel as brutal a pinch as maybe some of the industries you're already targeting? And that might mean refining your offer, refining your message. That's really important. The other thing I want to kind of leave you with, and this has been resonating, and on the way back from our event in Bristol yesterday, I had a talk with Dave, one of our team here, and we were talking about the reality is if you want to make, I don't know, 200,000, 500,000, £1 million, £10 million, in fact, it doesn't matter how big it is. There are actions that you've got to take over the next year, actions that have to happen. So if you want to make whatever money next year, you can't just rely and say, oh, it's going to come in anyway. And I'll tell you now, everybody's marketing is going to have to adapt and shift and refine, because some of the things that have worked previously are not going to be as effective. Why? Because people's money and concerns will be in different places. So there's that refining process. But let's say, for an example, you want to make over the next 2 years, maybe you're a solopreneur or a salesperson. You've got a sales target, a revenue target of £250,000. So it's just over £20,000 a month you've got to make. It's going to be harder to do what you're currently doing to get to that number just because of the way the economy is. So there's going to have to be some refinement in just doing the status quo. But the reality is that 20 grand a month that you've got to hit, you've got to put the work in. It's not going to happen. And I've talked to so many people, and I'm going to tell you something that I shared yesterday, which is really important. What people tend to do is when they have a problem, they look to learn how to solve the problem. And there are, from my point of view, doing this for 10 plus years, there are a myriad of ways to solve a revenue, sales, or marketing problem, a myriad of different ways. So many different ways you could do it. What tends to happen, and this is a warning for you because you could waste a lot of money. What tends to happen is people will try something new and then they start something new. So they go, I've seen all these LinkedIn posts, or I've seen these ads about how I need to build a funnel, or I need to use this direct messaging strategy, or I need to do this. And they get really excited about it. They might buy a course to do it. Nothing wrong with buying courses to learn information. But then when they start to implement, and this is true for any process, anybody who tells you it works so easy out of the box is lying. There is a process to go through. You get something out of the box, you set it up, and it probably doesn't work perfectly. Now, here's what most people do. They try it for a little bit, whether it be ads, whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be Instagram, whether it be direct messaging strategies, whether it be cold email, whatever it is, they try it. And And then what happens is they meet resistance. Something doesn't work so well. It doesn't kind of succeed the way they hoped. All of that stuff starts to happen. It's only when you choose to go, I'm going to perfect this process, will it actually ever yield any results. But most people never get there. What happens is when people meet, buy something, learn something, they try to implement, and it always on day one is never isn't as effective. It might be a little bit effective, but it's not what you would hoped. That's just the nature of the beast. Good marketers, good business owners, good salespeople who've got the scars from some of this stuff will go, right, okay, we're doing it. It looks like a good method, but it's not working for us. Now let's invest some time in making it work for us. And they will invest the time. But if you've got a nervousness, maybe you've tried a lot of things before, what you may do is go, oh, that doesn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. So you've got this pattern in your thought process that things don't work. So what happens is you don't totally commit to a process and making a process work. You go and learn something else. And I've discovered over 10 years of doing what I'm doing, some people, and I'm not dissing on people who've done this because we help a lot of them implement. It's not about dissing people. They've had such a tough experience doing lots of different things and felt that nothing really works, that what they kind of do is don't really see it through. So learning can become a substitute for action. So it feels good to learn something new. It feels good to expand your knowledge. But if you don't implement something, that learning is useless. So as you're looking now at, okay, I've got to make an extra 20,000, I've got to make 20,000 a month as a salesperson, business owner, solopreneur. Right. I've got to have a simple set of things that I can do that consistently delivers results for me. And you'll have to refine what you're already doing because it's going to be a tougher sell for everybody if you're selling into markets affected by recession. So I would be looking at refining what your positioning is, refining your service, looking at how you can optimize your existing processes. And then I would be looking at, okay, if I'm going to put new processes in, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to commit to it, I'm going to make it work, I'm going to make a process work, I'm going to make a system work. I'm not going to learn something new and then as a substitute for action, learn something else new, and as a substitute for action, learn something else new, right? It's about taking your knowledge, learning the skills around it, and actually implementing it. And that for me is a big thing that's going to have to happen in the next 2 years. Not only refining what you're doing, making it sharper, more effective, more clear, more impactful, more compelling. You're going to have a reason why somebody should do this now and not wait. So think about that. Why is your service, your product, something that people should buy now? Because for some people, their service was a nice to have and now a not need to have. So you got to think all that through and go, okay, are we a nice to have? How do we shift from being a nice to have to a must have? And that requires looking at your service offering. It doesn't mean changing necessarily, but it might mean that other parts of your service offering become more important or more at the front of what you do and what you offer. So the emphasis of how you deliver your service might change. Minor tweaks to it might change. Then it's how it's packaged, how you present it, how you put it together. And then, of course, some of you may find that the systems you're working don't deliver anymore or don't work in the way you wanted them to. So you're going to have to put a process and a system in place that you learn, you understand, and you actually implement consistently. And you don't keep chopping and changing. I know I've shared this story before. I worked with a client and they were obsessed with shiny objects. So they used new things as a substitute for doing something consistently. They had a great business doing just over $1 million. They employed about 25 staff, something like that, in the financial legal services industry. Great business, but the owner was always looking for the next big thing, rather than knuckling down with a great business he had, making it more profitable and doing all that. He was looking for something new. And basically, he'd spent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, and I'm not joking, on new stuff, starving his business of cash, starving his business of his focus, trying to get something else going, probably because he fell out of love with his business. But the best thing to do when you fall out of love with your business is how do I refine it? Sometimes you just have to go through it when you fall out of love with your business, but you could get it into a shape where it's really profitable and sell it off. But they were looking for as a substitute to avoid doing the actions in the business. They were spending so much money on new avenues, till eventually the business buckled because it wasn't sustaining its revenue, it wasn't sustaining its profit, and most of its profit had been sank into speculative stuff that required work, required effort, and then they'd move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. It must have been hundreds of thousands of pounds. In the end, I was saying like, no, just knuckle in on this. Let's just do this. And in the end, it was like, you're going under. And they did. They went under. I don't know what happened to him. I've not spoken to him in 5 years or so, but they went under simply because he just kept moving around. And I ended up having to stop working with him because it was like, you're giving me a new project. It's like there's more projects than I've had hot dinners. And it's like, your business isn't big enough to sustain this, right? You need to do one thing, get one thing working, make it successful. I'll shut up with this. And this is where I think also the focus piece will become important for the next 2 years. I built my business by selling one thing over and over and over and over and over again, consistently, over and over and over and over again. Yeah, I did year one, I think 5,000 sales of that one thing. And then year two, I think we did 6,000 or 7,000 sales of the thing. Yeah, I built my business by doing that one thing consistently. And you have had to adapt and tweak as things evolved. But fundamentally, it was about, let's sell one thing and get one thing out into the market that people will love. It will do the job for people. They'll love it. They'll want more of it. And I sold more stuff to those people because I sold that one thing really, really well. It was really focused. And so as we go into a time when people are more cautious about spending, we need to be really more focused on, why do people need this? What's the value for it? What makes this a no-brainer decision to do now? And that's going to be important. And there's two ways that you're going to refine this. There's two ways. You're going to either put the work in, or you're going to pay for somebody to do the work for you. So if you're doing all your marketing yourself, you're going to have to put extra hours in to make everything come together, to refine everything. Or you, and I'm going to make a defense of marketing agency, I'm going to make a defense of freelancers now. If you pay somebody to do the work, right, you have to understand there is a process. So whether you do it or somebody else does it, there is a process of learning, discovering, tweaking, implementing, and perfecting. So you either do it or you get somebody else to do it. But what you can't do, and you can't afford to do, is chop, change, and use learning as an excuse for not taking action. Now, you might not say, I'll never you do that. Surprised how many times we do. We see something, our struggle trying to do our bit to get revenue or get more clients or whatever we're trying to do, get our message out there. And then we see an ad from somebody on social media promising how they've done it in such and such quick time. And you go down the rabbit hole. You buy their $47 thing. And before you know it, you're trying something else new. And that other thing you've done, you've neglected the time. You're not putting the time into that. You're now trying something else new. It happens so subtly. It's so subtly. And I'm not saying the other ideas are wrong. You could have 5 ideas, but you've got to pick one and make one work. So the reality of this coming 2 years is you are going to have to work harder and smarter to convince people to buy from you. That means you might have to shift your industries, you might have to refine your product offering, you might have to refine your service offering, and you might have to refine the way you go to market, how you get those leads and clients, because the other ways that you might be using, I highly doubt they'll just stop working, but it may well be that their effectiveness diminishes. So it's worth having that thought process. And the next 3 months, so November, I've been talking to a lot of people, lot of business owners, and they're saying two things. It's tough. November has been really tough, and they're kind of worried about how December will play out. I've spoke to a lot of business owners about that. A lot of business owners are finding that it's actually their ability to collect money from customers is harder in November. So I don't know whether anybody wants to admit to that live, but actually a lot of people are saying that that is a challenge. Morning, Paul. Morning, Jonathan. Morning, Barbara. Yeah, Barbara, I don't think buy now and buy with me is necessarily going to be convincing. Adana, good morning. So a lot of business owners have been telling me actually getting customers to pay in November has been a real challenge, real difficult, tough challenge. A lot of business owners have said that people are delaying decisions, and they're also nervous about December. Not nervous in the sense of, I've always found December can be like a mixed month. It can either be awesome or it can be tough because of the way Christmas falls and all that kind of stuff. But given how, for many people, November has gone in terms of collecting payments from customers, getting new signups, getting new customers on board, people pushing things back to January, all of those kind of things, people are worried about December. But I feel that November, December, and January are going to be the toughest months of the recession, full stop. Now, I'm sure I'm going to end up eating my words somewhere, but I feel that that's going to be the toughest period because there's so much nervousness, so much panic. But once you get out of this winter period, I think some normalcy will kick in. So what should you be doing if it's tough right now? Well, manage your cash, manage your cash as tightly as you can, but also be looking, and I'm kind of contradicting myself, manage your cash as tightly as you can. I saw a great little tip, by the way, and I'm sure you all do this, but I thought it's worth sharing. I was walking around the business show. We were at the business show last week, and there was this great exhibition stand there, and it was about credit control and getting paid. And one of the things they said, and this is an obvious no-brainer, they said, send it, check it, chase it. In other words, send your invoices on time, make sure they're out and sent on time, check that they've received the invoice and ask them, are there any queries, to avoid you getting to the payment date and the queries are coming out of the woodwork. So send it on time, promptly, get it out there. Check it to make sure people have seen it, they've got it, there's no queries with it. If they need any more information, you can get it to them before it falls due, and chase it proactively. Chase it early. It's really important, particularly now, that you chase it early and you don't end up being the back of the queue. So those are the three things that I saw. So the next 3 months, you need to be really on it. I really feel it. January, this time of year, generally you have to be on it, but I think more so you're going to have to be on it because people will be worried and they'll try and hold on to things, and you'll see things like, okay, we'll hold on to it. So money that was due in November will get paid in December, which means some of your December money ends up getting into January, and you end up becoming the bank for other people. So keep on that. But at the same time, use this time now where you've got a window to reflect and go, how do I sharpen this up? And what are going to be my key actions that I'm going to nail so that I have 2023, I'm going at it. And this time now can seed February, March, April, May, and all of the rest of the year. So in other words, how do you increase your activity in a way that makes a recession less of a hassle for you. So this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm doing. I just thought I'd share it this morning, see what you think. Don't substitute more learning. Really don't. It's great to learn stuff. I help people learn stuff, but more so, it's about doing. It's about getting things done. So if you're looking to get more clients, what are you going to do to make it happen and get it done? Get it nailed, done. It's really important. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Look, have a great day. Thank you for joining me this morning. If we're not connected, come and say hi and connect with me. And check out some of my free webinars that I run. I've got the last one in 2 weeks' time before Christmas. But don't just learn all this stuff. Don't just listen to me. Eat the meat and leave the bones. If I've said something useful, go do something with it. Anyway, have a great day. And I'll see you maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday.
Dean's strategy helped me find clients. I created clients for my business with this program. It works.
My connections have grown, my reach has grown, my views have grown, and actually so has my business revenue. Over that 3-month period, I have actually signed up 3 new clients at a cost of £50,000. That's over just the 3-month period. So it's worth it.
Every single time there's a session, I just feel like it's just a golden moment. Every single session brings me something really new and really valuable, and I've started to attract high value client sales.